The film begins in March 2009. Captain Richard Phillips and his wife Andrea are leaving their Vermont home for the airport. Before leaving, he packs his bags, verifies his itinerary, and checks his passport. They express their fear about the times they are living in, wondering how their kids will fare in a world that is drastically different from their own, and where it is more difficult to find a good job. Afterwards, they reach the airport, give each other a final kiss, and Phillips enters. Meanwhile, a convoy of vans carrying local mercenaries arrives at Isle, a small settlement on Somalia's coast. Abdul and Muse is resting on the hard ground inside a hut when a small boy rushes to wake him up. The mercenaries of a warlord named Garad are unhappy that the villagers aren't at sea looking for ships to hijack. The village elder explains that they've done a previous successful hijacking last week, and the week before that, but the mercs weren't having it and pressured them to get in their boats and go find another target. Hufin is the village's chief. Hufin gives the orders to Muse and Hassan, another skiff commander, to each select 3 men and get their skiffs ready for the journey. The men huddle in an effort to sway Assad or Muse to pick them. If they possess the necessary knowledge and slash or anything to use as a bribe, they will probably be picked. A spray of the herb cat, which when chewed produces euphoria and appetite loss, is used as bribe. This will help with the sea raid. Muse's crew consists of a young Somali named Bilal, Elmi, and Naji, who is from another village. The Somalis load supplies and head to the mother boat. Later, Assad instructs Muse to keep out of his way this time and calls him a thin rat. Muse despises Assad, and he didn't like it when Assad starts bossing his man, Elmi, around. Captain Phillips arrives at the port of Salalah in Oman to take command of the MV Maersk Alabama, a container ship. Phillips greets Shane Murphy, his first mate, who then briefs him of their sea route and the total cargo that they're transporting. Captain Phillips is wary of pirate activity off the coast of Somalia, orders Murphy to guarantee that all doors and hatches on the ship are closed and maintained locked. After the cargo has been loaded, the ship soon sets out on its voyage. To make sure the crew is prepared in case of an emergency, Captain Phillips arranges emergency drills at sea, and it paid off. Shortly after the drill starts, Captain Phillips notices 2 tiny blips on the ship's radar screen. Murphy is informed by the captain that 2 skiffs are approaching and is given instructions to call the U.S. Maritime Emergency. Captain Phillips gives the order to make a 5-degree port turn, and the skiffs follow after USME doesn't respond. Murphy is then given the go-ahead by Phillips to report a possible pirate activity to the UKMTO. Phillips is told by the female MTO officers to follow the protocols. The captain then can see that the men on the skiffs are armed now that they've gotten near enough. Afterward, Captain Phillips issues a warning to his 20-man crew, instructing them to man their stations. He picks up his radio and pretends to contact a military ship in hopes of fooling the pirates. Assad is convinced by what he hears on the radio and tells his skiff to turn around and abandon the pursuit. Muse, on the other hand, is skeptical and tells his driver to pick up the pace. Captain Phillips increases the ship's speed and maneuver. The smaller boat is rocked by the ship's wave, but Muse tells Omi to push at full speed. Soon, the boat's engine fails, leaving them stranded. Muse and the others join up with their mothership later that evening to fix certain issues. When Assad and Muse began insulting one another, things became heated. Assad then aims his gun at his opponent, but Muse is hiding a wrench, which he used to kill Assad. After that, Muse steals Assad's engine and pursues the valuable cargo ship once more. When Murphy notices them, he alerts the captain. Next, Phillips gives the command to make evasive maneuvers, tells the crew to report to their stations and radios UKMTO for assistance. A few moments afterward, the water spray from the fire nozzle starts. The captain doesn't listen to Muse's radio call to stop the ship, so Meiji fires his weapon and they have to steer closer. The fire hose doesn't prove to be an effective deterrent as Bilal books the improvised ladder, and each man then leaps onto the ladder and scrambles up the side and into the boat. Next, Captain Phillips orders the crew to take refuge in the engine room and not open the doors. On the way to the bridge, the pirates destroy all locks they come across. Then, as soon as they reach the bridge, they storm in, pointing their weapons at Phillips and 2 others. Muse approaches Phillips and tells him to relax, that no one should be if they cooperate. The pirates are ecstatic when they discover that it's an American ship. Muse then declares that he is the captain now. Phillips negotiates with the leader that they'll give $30,000 to leave them alone, but to the pirates, it wasn't nearly enough. The head engineer kills the switch, and a few moments later, the ship's power goes out. Muse inquires as to what's happening, and Phillips tries to appease them by telling them that the power outage occurred because they pushed the ship to its limits. Muse wants to know where the rest of the crew is. Phillips presents himself as ignorant. He threatens to start shooting the people on the bridge one by one if the rest of the crew has not come out of hiding. However, Muse decides that because the bluff didn't succeed, he should instead look for the other crews. Muse leads Phillips and Bilal in the personnel search. Phillips advises that they investigate the ship from the top down, but Muse notices this and, after looking through a ship diagram, instructs Phillips to take them to the engine room. Along the way, Murphy almost gets spotted after Bilal checks on the storage room. After the close encounter, Murphy warns the crew that the enemies are on their way and to prep and spread glasses in the engine room. When the search party enters the engine room, Bilal takes the first step through the door and steps on the broken glass, injuring his foot severely. Muse orders Bilal to escort the captain back to the bridge. Meanwhile, Muse continues searching, and in the cover of darkness, Muse is ambushed by some of the crew members. A person tries to stab the pirate, but luckily, it is able to shield the fatal blow using his hand. Afterward, the crew then radios the pirates on the bridge to inform them that they have Muse and will trade in for Captain Phillips in exchange for the $30,000 and disappear. Phillips takes the money out of the safe and gives it to the pirates. Meanwhile, Muse has been released by the crew. When Phillips tries to exit the lifeboat, Neji hits the captain and closes the door, and the lifeboat dips into the water. The U.S. Bainbridge, a U.S. Navy vessel cruising in the Mediterranean, is notified of the hijacking of the Maersk Alabama and the subsequent captivity of Captain Phillips as a hostage aboard the lifeboat. It is instructed to head west and intercept the lifeboat. Phillips offers to take care of Bilal's foot injury and Muse's hand injury. Muse consents to Phillips tending to Bilal, but rejects therapy herself. Elmi screams in fear as the captain casually takes out a knife to sever the bandage. Neji commands Bilal to step away from him and seizes the knife from Phillips. Soon after, the Alabama crew that chose to follow the lifeboat and its captain are found by a drone. The Navy quickly estimated that the U.S. battleship would need at least 36 hours to catch up. The U.S. sends SEAL team men because, in any case, the lifeboat shouldn't make it to Somalia. After a while, Hufan gets in touch with Muse to let him know that the mothership's engines are malfunctioning. He also informs Muse that they should leave for Somalia right away, since Garad is upset that Muse botched the operation. The sailors aboard the lifeboat are alerted when the U.S. Bainbridge arrives, blaring its horns and shining spotlights. Then, a man by the name of Nemo, who can speak Somalian, gets in touch with the pirates and offers them water and food to start talks. Nemo, however, is informed by Muse that the demand is $10 million. Neji believes the Americans are setting them up and is wary of everything they say. Nonetheless, Muse agrees to meet with the Navy. Two gunboats then approach the lifeboat, demanding to see the captain. Muse directs Phillips to the lifeboat's door so they can see he's okay. Muse pushes Phillips back into the lifeboat while continuing to converse with Nemo. Food and drink are offered to him, but he declines. He will only accept $10 million. During the course of the conversation, Neji becomes increasingly agitated and fires his pistol. Fearing that Phillips had been shot, the gunboats were immediately ordered to pull back. Muse soon contacts Bainbridge and informs him that Phillips is fine, then confirms this with Phillips over the radio. Muse informs the CEO that he would contact them when they are in Somalia. Two more warships join U.S. Bainbridge after dark. Phillips returns to the lifeboat and requests authorization to take a leak. When Muse gives him permission, the Cap seizes the chance to shove Bilal into the sea and swim in the direction of the ships. The Navy finds them, but cannot tell which is which. Muse intervenes to stop Neji from shooting them. Then, in order to get Phillips back into the lifeboat, Muse dives into the sea and swims to him. Neji pummels the captain after they return. The SEALs show up later, take over tactical leadership and radio Muse. The negotiator then begins to list the names and origins of the pirates. He also persuades them that elders from their tribe are being brought to the Bainbridge and will help them arrange for Captain Phillips' ransom. Muse agrees to go over the warship to meet with the Navy and the elders. The SEALs, equipped with snipers, take up position at the same moment. In order to retrieve Muse and attach a tow rope, a skiff is sent to the lifeboat. Additionally, they covertly attach a listening device on the lifeboat's outside. The sailor throws a bag and instructs Phillips to stay in the same spot and put on the shirt to stay warm. The SEAL sniper's task back at the cruiser is to locate verified sightings of all three of the pirates on the raft and take them out. As soon as the Bainbridge begins tugging the lifeboat, Phillips does as ordered and puts on his yellow shirt. Elmi becomes upset when Phillips moves, so Neji shouts at him to stay still. Neji orders Elmi to shoot Phillips if he moves again. Still, the snipers try but fail to gain verified sightings of each of the three pirates as the raft gets closer. Fearing his end, Phillips grabs a pen and paper to write his last will to his family. Neji sees this and confiscates the materials. Phillips becomes enraged and assaults Neji, pushing and punching him. With Bilal and Elmi's help, they overpower the captain and tie them up. Neji turns on the radio and demands about the elders' whereabouts. He realizes that the elders aren't coming and that the Americans have been lying to them the entire time. Neji prepares to execute Phillips, believing that they would all die anyway. Tensions are high by then, and Neji is determined to kill the captain. Neji has not yet been sighted, despite 2 verified sightings of Bilal and Elmi snipers. The TOW is then ordered to cease by the commander. Neji stumbles forward and appears through a window as a result. This provides a visual to all 3 pirates, and the order authorizes execution. A stream of blood covers Phillips, and he yells. After that, there is a sudden silence followed by Phillips screaming as he sees the horrifying scene and takes off his blindfold. It is ordered that Muse be taken out. He is immediately taken into custody, put on the deck and shackled. When Muse learns that his crew has perished and that Captain Phillips is safe, Phillips being taken from the lifeboat and transferred to Bainbridge, where his wounds are treated by a medic. He struggles to respond to her and is overcome by shock and sorrow. Afterwards, Phillips asks his family if they know he's okay, and the chief says they do, and he will be able to get in touch with them soon. A few months later, the captain is reunited with his family. Muse received a 33-year sentence to federal prison in Indiana after being found guilty of piracy. Captain Phillips returned to the sea in the following year.